Music started. Thank you to Justin. I'm Kyle Ryssdal. Welcome back to Make Me Smart. Making today make sense is what we do on this pod.
Hey everybody!
Bueller,
I'm
did you
trying
start
to
talking?
bring
There we go.
everything. Yeah,
All
I know. I'm trying to bring everything up right
All
now,
right.
and
All right.
yeah,
Well, it's Andy Uhler in for Kimberly, and as soon as he finds his script and his camera, we're going to get going. Here, just super quick, just for the regulars among you. Kimberly's going to be out for like a week or something. She had a death in the family. One of her Uncle David's passed. So she's taking some time to be with family. And in the meanwhile, we got Uhler today and an all-star lineup coming through next week. So that's what's up with that. But anyway, it's Friday where I'm having a beer. I don't even know what Euler's having. Uhler, what are you having?
I'm having an Arnold Palmer, not a John Daly.
Are you?
Arnold Palmer?
Are
nice.
you an Arnold Palmer?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
It's nice, and it's actually an interesting sparkling Arnold Palmer. I'd never had one before. A cousin of mine brought it to my house, so
that can be very refreshing.
It's delightful.
It can be very refreshing. Before we go to the comments for what people are drinking, I should explain my face. So I'm a trail runner, and I was out running on Monday morning after our 6:15 meeting. And I was a great run, zipping right along, and I was not paying attention because that's why you run, is to not pay attention to anything and just have a good old time inside your head.
I'm with you.
And I tripped, and I went down so hard and so fast that I didn't have time to get my hands up. My hands are scar-free, basically. And I landed on a bunch of rocks on my face. And so there's this, and then there was this thing up here too. And let me just say, I look really good now compared to the way I looked Monday morning.
Is that right?
But that's what happened. I might have broken my toe. Don't know. We're waiting on the x-rays. The dogs are here, by the way. Hang on. Bonds. Anyway, Liv just came home. Anyway, that's what happened to my face. So that's what's what. You're having an Arnold Palmer. I'm having a what? Go ahead.
Yeah. No. I was going to ask you, was it go to the hospital? Was it bad news?
No,
it was I had a traumatic brain injury years ago, and so I we can talk about that.
Well, so it's interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So I was 2 miles from home, so I had to run home, right? Because I was up in the mountains, and what was I going to do? Not go home?
What the hell else?
So I had to run home. I'm reasonably sure I was lightly concussed because I landed so hard on my face. That Monday day was just shot. I really was good for nothing. Number one, it hurt a lot, but number two, I was a little spaced out. I've gotten x-rays on my toes. We're waiting on that. And then we go from there. Yeah. Crazy. Anyway, Arnold Palmer for you, sparkling kind. I'm having Bunny with a Chainsaw from Paperback Brewing here in town, I believe. It's quite tasty. A recommendation, by the way, of one Deborah Clark, the former jefe at Marketplace. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so that's where we are. Let us do some news. Mr. Uhler, you get to go first.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you, is that it's a nice little dovetail, right? We had some earnings reports from some folks who are producing beverages. And apparently, from what I'm reading, from what I'm seeing, there's a headline in the Wall Street Journal that says hard seltzer fad has fizzled. Light beer makes a comeback. I mean, it's sort of 6 of one, half dozen the other for you, though. It's light beer is not much, not much better.
That's exactly right.
Exactly right. And so I'm curious about. I wanted to hear your take, honestly, because you're not a hard seltzer person, but I mean, I guess on some really hot summer day, I don't know, is a light beer tolerable? I guess it depends on what you call a light beer too.
I'm never going to have a light beer, but I will have like a really, smooth cold lager or a Pilsner, like after a run or something.
Or a Kolsch or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that, right? The whole hard seltzer thing, I never really understood and was baffled by the White Claws and all the rest of them. What's really interesting are the companies that made a huge bet, lead among them Sam Adams, who in earnings reports
you've talked
earlier,
to a bunch.
I have, I can't even remember his name, but anyway, yes. And they got whacked in earnings because they had to write down a whole bunch of hard seltzer. And look, I mean, okay. So I'm a snob on a couple of things. Number one, coffee.
Sure.
Number two, beer, right? I'm a beer snob, but there are people out there who really like Bud Light and Coors Light and all that jazz, and more power to them. I will make fun of the beer itself, but drink what you want, peeps. Just drink what you
Well,
want.
and the other
You
thing
know?
too, I think what we're seeing too was that substitution effect of, you know what, I'm gonna have a hard seltzer, that not happening anymore. If I'm not gonna have a hard seltzer, I'm gonna get a Bud Light,
Right.
right? I'm gonna get a light
Right.
beer.
And
And
that's fine.
so
Yeah.
that sort of shift, it seems like is what's happening. It's funny because I have a buddy, and I talk about him all the time, a buddy here in Austin who runs a brewery, he's a head brewer, and I ask him all the
Right.
time about hard seltzers, right? Like, hey man, there's a market. What are you doing? And he's like,
Yeah.
no, it's just not on brand for us. And so I think maybe
Huh.
there's some of that fallout happening, right?
Yep. Yep. Totally. Totally. Totally.
What are we talking
What's your
about? What
other
are you
one? I
talking
saw
about?
these pictures. This is
Oh,
crazy.
oh, oh. Yeah, no,
Just
that
get
was
that
that.
in there because it's a not great story.
It really isn't. And what's interesting, there's a really really great sort of time lapse picture
Yeah.
in the New
Yeah.
York Times about what has happened to the water levels in Lake Mead. Lake Mead, sort of famously being, our largest reservoir. And so it's funny. I was thinking about this in the context of I've been reading a bunch this week about drought in Western states, droughts here in
Yeah.
Texas, certainly affecting farmers, but also something you and I and everybody else here talks about all the time, right? Is those farmers, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be more difficult to get water for their crops. Those crops are going to have low yields. Those low
Yeah.
yields are going to mean stuff is going to be even more expensive. And so I was sort of thinking about
Mhm.
that in the context of everything that I'm hearing, all the emails that I'm getting from my sources who are out here trying to farm, trying to produce pecans and Bastrop and places like that, who are saying, look, dude, we don't have any water and we're trying to figure
Yep.
this out. And so our yields are going to be bad and you're going to be paying for it. Sucks.
Yeah, that's the great wrestling match here in California in water use, right?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
Central Valley
Yeah.
where all the agriculture is, from which come a huge percentage of this country's, vegetables and
Yep.
fruit, and residential, right? And God, look at Los Angeles, right? I mean, we
In the
all
city,
got
right?
sprinklers on
Exactly.
our lawns and that whole deal,
Yep.
and it's anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, but check out that. But we'll put it on the show page. Those pictures are
Yeah.
are really really distressing.
They are.
Um,
They're incredible.
they're
What are you
just
talking
not
about?
great. Okay, so I got two and a half things. The first
Sure.
one is a Bloomberg article, which points out in the beginning of it, and this isn't actually the news item, but it's worth mentioning that there has been finally a grain deal struck between Ukraine, Russia, and Turkey to let Ukrainian grain out into the market through the Black Sea and the Bosphorus and all of that. And that's a big deal just because this war has had such a huge impact on food prices. Russia and Ukraine
Yep.
together accounting for something like 25% of the world's grain exports and sunflower
Yep.
oil and all of that good stuff. So that's great news. What I really wanted to point out, though, was that the Pentagon, actually it's John Kirby, who's now the National Security Council spokesperson,
Hmm.
said today that the Pentagon is looking into supplying fighter jets to the Ukrainians, which, if you remember, like 45 or 60 days ago,
Yep.
was verboten. They wouldn't even talk about it. And I think it's an interesting indicator of the shift now in support, moving from just money and weaponry to actual forward facing, offensive, possibly armaments, and that could be a little challenging. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And the Biden administration is going to have to walk a really fine line here. I don't know how I don't know how it's going to go over. I don't know how it's going to go over.
The
I'm a little
grain
worried
stuff
about
is
that,
so
to
interesting
be
too
honest with
because you're getting at it's supply chain stuff. I mean, there was
you. Mhm.
grain in ships sitting in ports forever or just going to waste. And
Yeah,
so this was basically a concession of,
yeah,
you know what, let's just let this stuff get to where it needs to go, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Let me just scroll quickly through the YouTube chat here. Matthew Carroll, A10, but not F15s or 16s, right? Yeah, that's true. So they're doing A10s, which are older. The tank killers, they're cool as hell looking. Ground attack aircraft.
Hmm.
They would not necessarily be used offensively. That is a fair point, but they would
Sure.
absolutely wreak hell on Russian tanks and armor and columns on the ground in
Hmm.
Ukraine. So that's a really good point. Here's the other thing we're just going to put this
Sure.
on the show page and warning here, this is a Kai opinion piece coming up and I'm going to do 30 seconds on Kai opinion. So there's a piece in the New York Times yesterday, I guess, an op-ed signed by 6 or 8 retired 4-star admirals and generals, one of whom for simply what it's worth, well, I didn't work with him. I worked for him because he was a captain and I was a lieutenant junior grade when I was on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. Anyway, they have written an op-ed in the New York Times saying that Donald Trump's actions on January 6th were a dereliction of duty. I completely agree with that. They were. But I really think it's time for retired military brass, and by brass, I mean like 2, 3, 4 stars, to just shut the hell up. It does not contribute to the civic dialogue and, in fact, damages the military-civilian divide in this country for retired general officers or flag officers to opine politically. Yes, they've got First Amendment rights, but I think it contributes to the hagiography of the military in this country, which does nothing for civil society. I'm happy to elaborate perhaps in a later pod, but I just want to get that out.
Well,
there
what I was going to ask you too is the sort of
great.
consequences for those 2- and 3-star generals. Are there any? I mean, that's my question is, can you just say this up? Can you pin these up? Go ahead.
These guys were all retired, right? So
Sure, exactly.
saying this while on active duty is completely verboten. You can't do that.
Exactly.
And if you did, you would be cashiered and your career would be over. But these guys are retired, and look, they have First Amendment rights and they've got experience, and I totally understand that they've got valid Bonds. Sorry, Bonds. Come here.
You're good.
God, dogs. Willie, come here. Hi. Yes, I know. Hi. Anyway, these guys have opinions and they've got experiences that are valuable. I don't believe, though, that they should be opining publicly in a forum as widespread as the New York Times on political matters. I don't think it does us any good. And you know, there's a whole long thing to be had about this. But anyway, I just want to get that out there because it's my podcast.
That's fair.
I can say what I want.
Without a doubt.
There you go.
I got you. You want to play again?
All right. Unless and until somebody in St. Paul says, no, okay, shut up. But that's a whole different thing. Okay. Sure. So let us move on, shall we, Drew? Save me from myself.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. All right. So first of all, let me just I want to go back to the comments here. Lynn's Boo PDX, who is somebody in Portland, Oregon, says, tell that to Michael Flynn, i.e. it goes both ways. Yes, it absolutely does. It absolutely does go both ways. Let's remember that Michael Flynn spoke at the convention that nominated Donald Trump and led the chance of lock her up. It absolutely goes both ways. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm done with my soapbox. So half full, half empty is the game. Drew Jostad's in charge. Drew, hit it.
Okay. An installation art company called Meta.is has filed a lawsuit for trademark infringement against Meta, formerly Facebook. Are you half full or half empty?
What do you think?
You go first.
No, I was going to say I'm absolutely half full. That's fine. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
we were here first. God damn it, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, that's the attitude, and it should be the attitude. And say, look, this is theoretically our IP. I guess. I mean, it's a word, it's an idea, but good on them. I'm half full, man.
What Uhler said. Totally agree. I'm half full. Totally.
Okay. Are you half full or half empty on Major League Baseball's settlement with the minor league players?
Were y'all listening to the morning program?
Of this story. I did listen to morning.
You didn't even listen to my story on the morning program?
Oh my God. I listened to 3 freaking feeds of that show. Give me I'm up at I literally set my alarm for 4:43 in the morning so I can hear tech and then I can hear MMR. Shut up.
I'm kidding. There's a delightful 2 minutes and 2 seconds on exactly this. I'll break it down for you. So I am okay. I'm I'm actually half empty on this one. So what happened was, Kyle, I'll break it down. $185 million was allocated in a settlement to minor league baseball players over the course of 13 years. I think it dates back to 2009. A collection of 23,000 players in a class action lawsuit said that they were treated unfairly in terms of their wages, right? And in the document, in the case, in what came out in court was a lot of these players are making right at the poverty line or less, and taking on second jobs, right? Actually, the Uncertain Hour did a whole episode about exactly this. It was
quick shout out here to Peter Ballin and Rosen. He did a great piece, actually, which won I think an award or two about minor league baseball. It was really good.
So what ended up happening was Major League Baseball saw this as an opportunity to I guess, come out and say, okay, we got to do this, so we're going to allocate a bunch of money. What ends up happening is that if you have 23,000 people as part of a class in a class action, it's going to be $5,000 a person, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so the effects, hopefully, what a lot of sort of positive, optimistic people are saying is this is an admission that Major League Baseball admits that it treated players poorly, that it treated
Hmm.
employees unjustly. And so hopefully this changes the way that they pay people in the minor leagues. The thing is, the Major League Baseball Players Association only represents the 40 people on the
Right.
active roster, right? And so those minor
Oh.
leaguers who are in whatever class A in whatever small town in New York
Yeah.
State,
Yeah.
they don't have any
Yeah.
representation. So the players union doesn't matter to them. So there's a lot of talk about whether or not that should be expanded, which is interesting. I'm half empty. What do you
Fascinating.
think?
I'm with Euler. Let me just say also, by the way, that AAA baseball, super fun. Super
Oh,
fun.
absolutely.
AAA baseball is great.
Yeah.
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 Drew,
Okay.
continue.
China is reducing its holdings of U.S. treasuries. Are you half full or
This
half
is
empty?
this is wheelhouse, Kai. You go. You
Yeah. So for the first time in a decade plus, China has less than $1 trillion worth of U.S. government debt, which is of course Treasury bonds, bills, and
Sure.
notes. They had been the biggest buyer for a very long time. They are now number 2 behind Japan. Look, they're conceivably rebalancing their portfolio. They are trying to move away from the dollar, which is fine. That's great. It's interesting. I don't think it's seismic. I think look, eventually the dollar's not going to be the reserve currency, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. I'm all right. Look, so this would piss off Nancy Cassett, who was the most recently departed director of the Marketplace newsroom. I'm neutral on this. It is a fact. It is a thing that happened. I have no other point of view. That's where I am.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sort of with you on that too. It's like this doesn't feel half full or half empty. It's just a thing that is
Right.
happening. I think for me, a lot of my friends ask me about sort of exactly those questions about what if China comes and asks for the tab. That's a really long answer.
So look. So no, actually, I
Yeah.
have thoughts on this. And since
Yeah,
we're going with, as the comments say, hot take Kai, I'm going to pile on a Friday afternoon after a
Party on. Let's
beer
do
and
it.
a half, or a half a beer. Anyway, so look, here's the deal. There was a point where China had $1.3 trillion of U.S. securities in the Bank of China, right? Buried under Tiananmen Square or wherever they keep their money. And the thought was, oh my God, China could wreck the American economy by just going onto the market and dumping all of these things.
Exactly.
That was not going to happen, because if China did that, then the Chinese economy would crater as well. This is an intricately balanced global economy. And I used to call this earlier in my career at Marketplace, which is now going on for far too long. I used to call this that's a whole different podcast.
Sure.
I used to call this Newtonian economics, right? For every reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Sure.
If China went out and dumped $1.3 trillion of US debt onto the market, the Chinese economy would suffer as well. So there was no way they were going to do that. It's an economic form of mutually assured destruction, if you want to go back to Cold War dynamics, right? So they were never going to do that. An orderly drawdown of China's holdings is not necessarily a big deal, nor is an orderly build up of anybody's holdings, right? The entire deal with the global economy is an orderly transition between one situation of stasis and another. If things go to hell in a handbasket in a hurry, then that's bad. But as long as there's relatively little motion on either side, then we're fine. Oh my God, shut
there
up,
it is.
Kai.
There it is. Drew, what's the last one?
Jesus Christ.
Okay, I got Amazon has a deal to acquire a membership-based healthcare company called One Medical. Are you half full or half empty?
All right, sorry. Let me just pause here for a second.
Yeah.
No. I know nothing of this story because I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, shut up. So I really have to now say, Bridget Bodner, what are you thinking of putting this in there? Seriously, Bridget? We have to figure out a way that Bridget can get on this cast as well. I'm just saying.
That's true.
So look, Amazon is expanding. It's not their first venture into real life medical care.
Sure.
Jeff Bezos, as we know, wants to take over the world. I guess I'm. Here's the deal. I am not informed enough to have an opinion. That's where I am.
Okay. I think
right.
I'm sort of with you, except that I'm sort of half full in the sense of, look, Walmart's getting in there and has been for a minute. Amazon, sure, jump in there, and if it makes it any more, if you have access, greater access, maybe cheaper. I don't know. I'm sort of like, you know what? These corporations have so much power and they have so much going on. Sure. That's a lazy half full, but
I love that. Lazy half full. I'm going to go with that, actually. We can have a lazy half full and a lazy half empty. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Drew, do we have any more, or was that it?
We got one more.
Buddy.
The U.S. attorneys for the Southern District of New York have indicted a former Coinbase employee for insider trading. Seems like based on possibly a story that was broken on crypto Twitter by a user named Kobe. Are you half full or half empty on the FBI reading your tweets?
Well, that's a whole different story.
Kai was ready, man. He was ready to pounce, and then that's a different question.
Oh man. Anyway, Uhler, go ahead.
I'm half empty well, I mean, the FBI's, it feels like I'm half empty on the idea of the FBI reading my tweets. But I know the FBI is doing it, or can, or I mean, but also I'm tweeting out stuff about, goofy energy policy and also sports, so they can have whatever they want on my Twitter feed. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's about the FBI reading your Twitter feed. It's about crypto and this. All right, so I'm going to get in trouble here, but what the hell? It's about crypto and the scam and the pyramid scheme that it presently is. And before you pile onto me on the comments or on Discord or on Twitter, hear me out. It's not money yet. It's not a store of value. It's not a means of account, right? It's not any of those things yet. Right now, it's a way for already mostly rich people to get richer because of the greater fool theory. Okay. There will always be a greater fool who's going to come in and buy my Bitcoin later. It's interesting to me that it has taken this long, right? Bitcoin's been around since 2009. It's taken this long for there to be an insider trading scam on crypto, which is by definition anonymous, and all of those different things that make it sort of ripe for this kind of, shall we say, event. So I'm not surprised. I'm going to give it the Uhler lazy half full.
What I was going to ask you too is, does this
Drew's fair enough. But no, Andy, go ahead. No, Andy, keep going. Drew's not in charge. I was going to ask you are in charge.
Is there? I've been thinking about when you just said that. Is there legitimacy that comes with insider trading? Right? Do you have now? Right. I've been thinking about, like, okay, now we talk about this in a different context than just these goofy tokens and commodities.
I think that's totally fair, right? One of the, all right, look, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Shocking, I know, on this podcast today. There is a certain legitimacy that is imparted by using all the old devices of fiat currency and traditional asset management, right? That's exactly, I think that's exactly what you're saying. And maybe, but right now, it's interesting to me that this has just happened. All right, Drew, hit that sting one more time. Come on, good. There we go. All right, we're back on Monday. My thanks, as you can hear, to Andy Uhler for jumping in today with Kimberly being out. Tuesday, we're going to do a deep dive on all kinds of different things, mostly about inflation, what the White House or Congress might be able to do about it. And we will have, as I said, an all-star lineup of Marketplace's greatest to help out while Kimberly's gone.
Without a doubt. In the meantime, keep sending your thoughts and questions. Email us at makemesmart@marketplace.org. You can leave us a voice message too, which are kind of cool. 508-827-6278. That's 508 UB Smart. Man, it's already over? Come on.
It is already over, right? It's quick. But look, this one went 24 minutes, which is kind of a really long time.
All right, Make Me Smart is produced by Marissa Cabrera. Today's episode was engineered by Drew Josted. The senior producer is the aforementioned Bridget Bodner.
Stephen Bion leads the team behind our Friday game. What's it called now? Oh, sorry, never mind. Mel Rosenberg and Emily McCune help out. Theme music was written by Drew Jostad. The director of On Demand is Donna Tam. Yes, I know I'm butchering the credits, but honestly, you know.
We didn't even have time for my pick and poll. I mean, maybe that's a whole nother.
Oh my
podcast.
God! Quickly, come on. We'll extend it like 30 seconds. Go, pick and pull.
So I have a 95 OJ Ford Bronco, right? I got into, of course I do. All of this reporting on EVs and energy policy, and I have this. It's basically a gas guzzler. What happened was I ran into somebody who was in charge of putting boots on cars when they park wrong. Stopped in front of me, and yeah, it was bad news. Got into a wreck. This was years ago, and so I've been searching for 2 fenders and a hood for the Bronco.
Oh my God!
Found them today, and my buddy Gomez and I went out, and we were out in a picking yard for about 4 hours.
Wait, so when you say pick and pull,
sure.
I had like this image of like picking your own pork and pulling it and putting it on a sandwich, or like in an orchard and picking your own, I don't know, like apples or whatever the hell it is. They don't have those in Texas.
So this is a pick and pull in an auto salvage yard. That's exactly right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you go out and they sort of point you, hey, where are your old body style OBS Fords? And they pointed me to a Ford F-250.
Right. So I had the first car I ever owned was a 1972 Cutlass convertible 442, red with a white top. It was blue when I bought it, but blue and with a black raggedy convertible top. I painted it red, had a white top, and it had headers on it, and it was louder than shit. And the headers, one of the headers leaked. Right. And it was just a pain in the ass because I had to fix it all the time. So I had to go to a junkyard, and I found the original exhaust manifolds for a 72 Cutlass 442 convertible. And I wound up putting them on. Yeah. So junkyards are wild places. They are crazy places.
Well, and also it's such an interesting exercise in patience, right? It's
right.
Okay. Sure. I have this old car. It's going to sit around, adjacent to my house. Who cares? Like if I find what I need when I find it. Okay.
Right.
It's great.
Exactly.
This is fun, dude.
All right. And with that, the special bonus post-show episode of Andy Uhler on Make Me Smart is done. Oh my God. We're back on.